No, now...
Me rolling.
Now we are. Good afternoon. Sorry for the slight delay. It's all my fault. Welcome to a Grays Westminster live stream. What are we doing? Are we streaming?
Hi, everyone.
This is Con. I am Becky. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We're talking about all things news, and we have quite a few things on the agenda, don't we?
It's been a busy week, isn't it?
It's been a very busy week. First of all, I have to say a big thank you to Ian Sight, who said, I've been binge viewing Gray's content for a few days. Love it and hope you have a great show.
Well, you know, Netflix subscription is going up and YouTube is free with advertisements.
Exactly. So you can always just come watch us. But thank you so much, Ian. We really, really appreciate it. And hope you enjoy it when you get to catch up later. And I will thank the rest of you shortly. But first of all, what else did I want to do? Yeah, Coffee Fund. That is open. That is a thing that you can do. You can do the little...
Fill this up.
That's right. You can fill that up virtually. So there's a little $sign down the bottom underneath the chat, and you can click on that and then do a super chat sticker, as they're called. It's not very intuitive, I have to say.
No, we should have the crypto wallets. We should have the Patreons and all sorts of platforms.
All that stuff.
Yeah.
And for those of you that noticed, yes, I am a bit hoarse, which is why I have tea with me. I was busy making my tea.
And I'm a bit pony.
You're a pony. Okay, so we have a few bits and pieces that we want to chat about. The first one will be the 800mm. A couple of you also sent me the Nikon, what's it called? Review, like mid-term review.
Yeah, they just came out. Yeah, Woody sent that to me. So,
and Vince also sent it to
as
me.
well. So thank you very much, guys.
So got our backs, you guys. It's great.
Yeah, so I think we're going to talk about that next week.
We will. There were a couple of things that I wanted to just sort of highlight in.
So you actually read it?
I read some of it.
Okay, I already set up to book the time where I'm going to sit down.
Okay.
You know, just get rid of my family and just going to read that.
That's right. Yeah. That's a good plan. But I think that the first kind of thing that we can happily talk about is the 800mm, because obviously that is the newest and latest, greatest announcement. So first of all, let me do the Coffee Fund thank yous for all of you who've done it so far. Thank you to Fred for your contribution to the Coffee Fund. Fred was actually asking me on email, and maybe you all from that side of the pond can help, but if you have any recommendations of places to get film developed.
Yes.
You're right there.
Yes, people commenting that I am quiet a little bit. So I've increased myself, and then I, just hammer the mic. Exactly.
What if they're on headphones?
Can you hear me now?
Probably.
No, it's fine. It should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So developing film.
So developing film in the States. Obviously, we don't have much experience with getting film developed in the States and don't have a list of recommended places. I would love to actually generate such a thing so that the community can have it. But if you do have any recommendations for Fred, if you are a film shooter stateside, then please feel free to drop those in the chat for him.
Exactly. I think on Reddit, if you go to forum which is called Photography and Analog, they should have a list of all the processing labs everywhere in the world. So that's a good way to do that. And if you look at all the hipsters talking film on the YouTubes, like Grainy Days, William... I forgot all of them. Anyway, so all of those are part of Squarespace and all that. So they, I think, recommend Darkroom. So yeah, have a look at those.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So there's some recommendations, and Fred, feel free to look at the comments. I'm sure that there will be more as we go along. Hello to all of you who are saying hello from Silicon Valley, from West Cumbria, from Melbourne. Lovely to have you with us today. We are going to talk about the 800 comments shortly as well, but I just want to get to the rest of the Coffee Fund contributions. Goodness me, they are.
While you're doing this, so David says I'm still quiet. So guys, can you hear me? Can someone else just say if I'm quiet as well? Because Ken's been dipping his mic in the coffee again. Well, I do that, yeah, every now and then.
Just for good measure.
Keeps me sane.
Maybe it's because I have still not got full hearing back in one of my ears, so I'm shouting.
Shall I just go start clipping or something? Okay, I'm going to increase my sound now.
You're right in the yellow now.
I'm right in the yellow.
No,
okay.
but you know what? That's on par with me, so that's fine. Leave it there. Leave it there.
Okay.
Good. So thank you to... God, this is all over the place, isn't it, today? It's great.
We're doing well.
Thank you to Jeremy for your contribution to the coffee fund. To Adrian, we must need coffee. We do.
We do.
Thank you to Gary. Thank you so much to Vince, yes. And also thank you for your email. I did catch it before we were going live. Thank you to Terry and to Ian, all of you. That's wonderful. Terry Kontopoulos said you're not quiet. So there you go. Now you're
loud and clear.
Too loud.
Copy that. Hello.
Do some ASMR.
Shall I whisper into the microphone?
Yeah, Richard Brown said, no, you're too loud now.
Okay, so let's just bring it back to normal.
Leave it.
Okay.
Leave it there and don't
Becky is a DJ.
don't touch the mic. Thank you to Michael also for your contribution to the Coffee Fund, who said he's watching on TV. So we're on telly. Isn't that great?
That's nice. 4K?
Yeah,
75-inch LG OLED?
maybe.
Sounds
So
good.
for your benefit and mine, last night I spent a bit of time on the Nikon school live stream, just asking questions of Neil and Rishi about the 800mm, because we obviously haven't seen one yet.
No.
It was announced on Wednesday. We had a slightly odd scenario where we were not allowed to talk about it, but it was already out on YouTube.
Which is a weird thing. Let's be honest. When we were told that you can't talk about it, but everyone else was talking about this lens for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were just puzzled because we weren't sure why is that. Because basically, well, everyone knew what it looks like. Everyone pretty knew the weight of the lens. Okay, we didn't know how many elements it had, but the size and the weight were there. The price was pretty much more or less close. The rumored price was close to the real price.
I think that was probably the main thing we weren't allowed to talk about, though, was the actual price. Because that is always subject to change right up until the last minute. So that might have been actually where we were kind of told to keep stum. But quite a few photographers have been using it for a decent length of time, one of which obviously was Rishi. He's had a lot of time with it. Neil had less time with it, but he had been able to pick it up and use it. I think Rishi had used it in Iceland, Scotland, a few other places.
Yeah, well, I had some connects in States and Australia as well, and I knew those guys also had the lens. So it seems that, just basically it wasn't in UK till very late, but everyone else had them.
That's right. So I think the only ambassador that I know had one from the UK was the lovely Tom Mason, who was out shooting somewhere in Antarctica with Nikon Nordic with an 800mm, and he posted some of his kind of first look reviews. Michael is watching on a 55-inch OLED screen.
Good choice. Good choice. I got 65. I love it. It's really great. And also David says Pioneer Curo Plasma. So I have a Panasonic Plasma still, 42-inch, 1080p, amazing screen. So what else do I want to say? I want to say thank you to Michael, who sent us some Soviet film, Soviet surveillance film. So
that's right.
To test out, all proceeds from that sale of that film went to Ukraine, which is really good. So thank you very much, Michael. We're going to test it out. We've got a couple of rolls in 120. We've got a few rolls in 35.
Yeah, we're going to have fun with that. It's 1,000 ASA. So
yes, and I don't think that commercial labs can develop it. So it's got its own instructions. So I haven't developed film since my school days. So you developed one last year and you loved it. I know that. So,
I love it.
So I think I'm going to send my film to you, Becky.
I love the experience so much.
Yes.
I'll do it in my lab, what's it called? Lab box.
You got a little thing, like the one that you can process and load your film
in daylight.
In daylight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you can just come around and help me.
I'll film all that, all the frustration. Yeah.
Colin asked where the Nikon School live stream was. It was actually on Instagram. So you probably can still find a recording of it if you go over and have a look at the Nikon School Instagram's page, or possibly on Rishi's Instagram feed.
MySpace profile.
Then you'll be able to find it. But that was where I was. And one of the questions that I asked Rishi, well, actually, he answered quite a few questions. He was talking about how he'd expected the 800mm to be quite slow for focus, but probably optically very, very good, because everything coming off the Z line is very optically good.
That's true. By the way, people in the chat, let us know what do you think about the lens.
Yeah, we'd love to know what you think.
Yeah, and we're going to read through them while Becky is talking.
While I'm talking, exactly. Yes. At the exact same time.
Exactly. Well, I'll read, you talk.
Okay.
And then we swap.
So he was saying how actually once he'd put it on, obviously he's been using the 400 2.8 up till now, which is a pre-production model that he's got, but he was expecting it to be vastly different in terms of autofocus speed. Mm-hmm. Rishi uses a Z9, we know that now. But actually the 800mm, he said, he was very impressed. He was expecting it to lag a bit, but he was shooting for like owls in flight and stuff. I don't know if you saw his stories showing
I did, yes, some of them, yes.
So very fast autofocus, which was very impressive. Neil said he particularly liked the out of focus rendering, or the bokeh as we call it, on that lens, which I think for PF lenses, you either like it or you don't. I've got the 500 and I had the 300 for a while.
Yeah, you were swearing by 500, isn't
Love
it?
The 500. Yeah. And if the subject is isolated enough against the background, like if the background's not too close to the subject, it produces a lovely out of focus effect. I think if you've got a bird with lots of branches, obviously you're not going to get that same subject separation as if you were using a 400 2.8.
You know, when the first phase Fresnel lens came out, I think it was 304E, right? So there was a lot of people were criticizing bokeh. I wouldn't say criticizing, but commenting on bokeh, saying that phase Fresnel lens can create a donut effect similar to mirror lenses back in the day. I don't think it's the case, to be honest with you. I mean, definitely 500 f4, 500 5.6, I didn't see that, and I assume that 800 won't have that as well.
No, I think it was spotted in the 300, just in if you look at actual out of focus highlights, not just general, but actual spots of light, you'd get this kind of halo in your bokeh spots. That's probably the best way to describe it.
As we call it, like a glow. Yeah.
But again, it's not. It's not a big deal, and it's a personal thing, but I don't think it's really an issue. So the 800, the question that I asked Rishi, which is probably quite a difficult question, but I said, look, if you've obviously taking the price point into consideration, but if you've got a 400 2.8 on order and you've got your 2x teleconverter, would you use that, or would you also buy an independent 800mm? I mean, this is for people on a different tax bracket to the.
And would you also buy a Z9 and a second one as a backup?
Yeah. But do you know what I mean? It's like, what do you, if you're thinking, okay, I want one lens and I'm not going to end up with both.
Yeah.
Would you go 400 with teleconverter, or would you just go 800
Don't
prime?
you think it's comparing apples and oranges, really?
That's why I asked him the question.
They're not the same. So what did he say?
So he said...
He just ignored Becky's question.
No, he didn't. They actually answered me, which was really nice. He said that his feeling would be, although the 400mm is amazing with teleconverters and everything like that, he prefers the native 800mm just for the portability and the size.
Yeah.
And I think, and Neil kind of said the same thing, but that's really what it's down to. You. Those are questions we're probably going to see a lot of over the next few months. But as you say, it's like comparing apples with oranges.
Because like the way it sounds is like, oh, you just buy 800mm and that's it. No, it's not really, because 400 it's in its own league, and obviously if you need a shorter focal distance, then that's the way to do it. But I think if I would spend money on 400mm, I probably wouldn't have any money left for 800mm, so I would just add teleconvert to it. But technically, I think it's possible. Then whoever buys it can hire us to carry it for this person, so we would be happy to even fly to Africa with you.
Sure.
Wherever you are.
Why not? We'll carry it around, no problem.
Our business rates are quite reasonable, isn't it? So
very much so.
Yeah, per hour.
It's funny because Roy said there is a second 400Z lens on the roadmap, which I do want to talk about shortly as well. Just in terms of this being the first of the Z phase Fresnel lenses.
Yes.
And what we might see. I saw lots and lots of people saying, I would love a 1200mm 5.6 PF lens or whatever. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what Nikon do now that they've introduced this PF lens, and seeing how many people have kind of gotten very excited about it.
Okay, my question to you is, are they going to release 600mm first and then 400mm later? Because I think we got 400mm out now. I know it's not the cheaper version, it's the expensive one. But looking at their long range, if you look at the expensive range, it looks like the 600 is kind of the logical next choice. And obviously, if you're looking at the Consumer range, then we have 200 to 600, which is on the roadmap, and then hopefully consumer 700 which is not on roadmap, but I think we need one there.
Yeah.
But the question is, do you think we're going to see 400 phrase Fresnel over 600 first, or vice versa?
Well, in some ways, I kind of hope not, just for the simple reason that I don't see at this stage of the Z existence. If you like, it seems weird to have two lenses in exactly the same focal length.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've seen that with the 2470, 2875, 24120, 2470 2.8.
Let's not go there.
2450 is like, why?
Still hurts.
It's just so strange. And I understand that these 400s would be for two different, very different target audiences. And I like the fact that they did the professional lens first. You know, I like the fact that they went, okay, let's cater to the pros. They're making their money from photography, sports and wildlife, Olympics, you know, those kind of things. Those guys, they need this 400mm ASAP. And obviously they did that off the back of the Z9. It wouldn't have made much sense to bring that lens out before the Z9. No. Because, you know, you're not going to put it on a Z7 necessarily. You can, and there's no harm in doing it, but that's not what that lens is for. I think they could obviously put it out, but I think the whole idea was, from marketing point of view, is you want to do a push. So obviously Z9 is a pro camera, cutting edge, you know, technology camera, and then you want to have lenses to go with it. Yeah, exactly. As Vince said, the 800 fills a gap that no one knew existed. It's handholdable, easy to carry, and able to reach out. Actually, Vince managed to get his hands on one and try one out a couple of days ago. So, oh, fantastic! I don't know where. You need to tell me where. No, definitely, Vince. Let us know if you have any more opinion about this lens, any thoughts. Yeah, do let the people in the comments, please. Yeah. But also, my question was, as well, we've got 800mm. It's 6.3, yeah? So it's what, 1/3 of a stop from 5.6. So if you compare it to Canon, which is whopping $19,000, right? So this is a bargain, really. So what's in the States, we have that $6,500 plus tax. In UK, we have it at what, 6,299 in quad. So if you look at the price comparison, there's no comparison, really. I think it's a really smart way of undercutting it. Yes, one is 5.6, another one 6.3. They're not the same. But if you're thinking that, okay, if it's 1/3 of a stop difference, and much, much cheaper, 3 times cheaper, you know, that's amazing. It is. But the Canon one is an RF mount lens? Yes, right. They have I think the previous one as well, and they have now RF, which is, came out very recently, 800 and 1200. Yeah, because obviously their RF mount 800mm is the same price point as the Nikon F mount lens, which is kind of, I wonder if they looked at that for inspiration. Could be that. And also, I think, the thing about this, if we only have 1/3 of a stop difference, but then it allows a lot more people to acquire the lens, I think it's a very smart move from Nikon. Yeah, absolutely. So John made an interesting comment, which I just wanted to read here. He said, it makes sense for Nikon to do 400, 600 and 800 PF lenses, as it will complement the 300 and 500 PF lenses. That's quite interesting, because obviously the 300 and 500 are F-mount lenses, but I like the idea of them sort of continuing to almost support those F-mount lenses by bringing out Zs in between rather than replacing out. So I thought that was actually very insightful. The other thing that I asked Neil and Rishi, and I said, you know, you do different types of photography, so answer in your own way. But if the 800mm is in your kit bag and you're going traveling, what other lenses do you put in there, or what else is in your kit bag? And everything. Well, Neil said, because he's a landscape man, he said 14-24. His 24-120, which he's a big advocate of. I spoke to him at the Velodrome a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, it's a great lens. What he does is amazing. Yeah, exactly. And then the 100-400, and then the 800mm. So he had like one of everything. It's a big bag. He's 72 litre or something like that. Whereas Rishi said, you know what? I'm one of these people that actually prefers to have a lens for a particular purpose. So he said, so I'm going 800mm and 14-24, and that's it. And I was like, wow, that is bold. I mean, he's a man of extremes, obviously. He's not going to do anything in the mid-range, but has decided that the 800mm he's obviously fallen in love with
But he does, if you look at his Instagram, actually, he does either landscapes or wildlife, effectively, or it's extreme sports. So you either need a long lenses, so that's very interesting. Actually, Terry is asking if the 200-600 lens on official roadmap. Yes, Terry, it is.
It is.
If you go to Nikon page, you may find it. It's the one which is called Z Lens Lineup Expansion to 2023.
Yeah. Now, before we move on to lens roadmap and things like that, I mean, the only other thing I would be interested to know is, are there any, from our viewers' viewpoints, are there any kind of secret uses for this lens, do you think? Because obviously it gets pushed as a sports and wildlife, and primarily wildlife and small birds lens, but...
I heard it's a really good street life lens, documentary style, indoor shooting is fantastic with it.
But realistically, because one thing that they were chatting about last night was astrophotography. Neil does a fair bit of astrophotography. It's usually wide angle, huge starscapes and things like that.
And it's, so wide aperture lenses, isn't it?
Yeah. But then, isolating, for example, but a bit of architecture with the moon, those big moon pictures. This was something that I discovered when I was in the States and I didn't have a long lens with me. It's very annoying. And we had an amazing, not necessarily a harvest moon. I don't know if that's what they call it over there, but the moon was very low. And so obviously atmosphere wise, it looked very large.
It was like a blood moon.
It wasn't a blood moon, but it was very big. And there was a church tower and I was trying to get a picture of it just around dusk time. And it looked so tiny on the 70mm. And I thought, what is the thing that gets you that huge moon view? And it's actually a telephoto lens.
That's true. So now you know how to get that look.
Yeah. So if I'd brought the 500 PF, I would have been fine, probably. Anyway, done.
So yeah, if you're into vampire photography or anything like this, that would work really well.
Well, Roy said mostly small birds. David said fashion. I'd be interested to see how you'd use it for fashion, actually. It'd have to be a really big...
I guess outdoors, or it's going to be a really long catwalk. Really, really long one.
Yeah. Ed said, I'd love to explore a location with just the 800 and the 51.2. That would be an interesting combination. Ed also said he'd like to be our Grace Westminster ambassador in Mexico. So thanks, Ed.
Absolutely.
When we do the ambassador program, I'll let you know. Avner said, after the 800 in your bag, there's no place left, or you have someone to carry your bag. So, yeah. Us. We'll do it.
We love to travel.
Phil said secret uses for using lens: warding off burglars by swinging it around. Matt did do a big moon pic with the 800. It's true.
He did.
It's very, very true. I had a particular shot in mind that I thought the 800 probably would have worked well for, actually. And Anthony said the 800, the elephant in the room has to be covert surveillance. Actually, one of my closest friends, who's a Canon user, so I don't know why I'm still friends with him, but anyway, he said it's great if you want to, secretly take pictures of celebrities from a tree, kind of thing. I don't know why he was in a tree. From your house. Yeah. So yes, paparazzi photography, it could actually be a secret use for that.
But the question is, let's say, I know you love 500mm.
I do.
And you do try to take it with you when you can. Will you take 800 with you?
I don't know what, in terms of size and weight, I don't actually have a real...
I think it's 1.5 and another one is 2.5.
Yeah. So it's going to be heavy.
Yeah. Okay, obviously with all excitement about this lens, I know that this is not the lens for me.
No.
I'm not the photographer for that, that's for sure. So, and I'm just trying to find of a practical way. I don't do wildlife, I don't do sports. Yeah, so
it's not a lens for you. That's it.
How can I justify spending 6,300 British pounds on that lens? So I can see fashion, but I would probably be happy with something like 200 f2 personally.
Yeah.
So I think
it would be a bit more practical for you as well.
Absolutely, but it is obviously it's answering a lot of a lot of questions for a lot of photographers. But I'm just trying to justify it for me, and I can't find any reason personally.
I think as someone who in more recent years became very interested in bird and wildlife photography, I can see a use for it in my kit bag. I don't see a gap of $6,500 that I have that I can just buy one at this point. Very sad. But I do see that like, for example, when we went to the Wetland Centre.
Yes, that's definitely would be a case use for that.
For you, that's like a once in a blue moon kind of trip. For me, that would be something I would want to do more regularly.
So for me, it would be a higher lens.
Yeah.
I would say. And for you, you potentially could get one of those.
Yeah.
And then you pair it up with 500, 300.
Yeah.
And a 51 too.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great combination there.
Yeah, I'm more excited personally about 85-1.2. You know,
I know.
The one that hasn't been announced yet, unfortunately.
I think we're going to be talking a lot about those shorter lenses when the time comes. Phil said for many in the UK, it would be a great single lens when walking around nature reserves. I wouldn't go abroad to do wildlife with it as my main lens. I probably would.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not single.
I probably would go to wildlife reserves with it, but I do like the sort of idea of going around nature reserves with it. I think it would be fantastic, particularly because in the UK, our sort of native nature is quite shy. It's quite camera shy. So it's quite a nice way.
But if you got like what's called Nation Trust or whatever the membership, then it's quite useful, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Although again,
National Trust.
National Trust, it depends on what you're doing. Because if you're going to like old houses and stuff like that, 800 is going to be useless in a scenario like that. You want to go to nature reserves.
Yeah, so you got National Trust and you got something else, right? You got two memberships. One covers nature reserves, another one covers all the castles.
Yeah, I only know the one that covers all the castles.
That's the National Trust.
Yes. Someone's going to tell us. What's the other one? Let us know. I don't have the membership, whatever it is. Andy.
Oh, aircraft sporting engine. Yeah. That's actually a good thing. There's a whole, like, this is its own thing.
It's the whole world.
Whole world. Like, aircraft sporting, then, military vehicles.
Planes, trains and automobiles.
Train sports, yes, absolutely. So that's what I'm thinking about. And English heritage, that's the one. So yeah, that's, if you're into that, you've got the apps that tell you where this plane is flying. You can always point it. Even actually, the people, I know the guy who photographed space station.
Yeah.
And there's an app to tell you when it's going to pass over you, above you. So, so he could then set up the lens and take a shot. And if you zoom into about 1000%, you can actually see it.
Yeah.
I agree. That's a nice case use for that.
I think so too. Someone did ask, wouldn't you need a Z9 to take full advantage?
Yes. Of autofocus, yes.
I'm just trying to see who that was. It was Gary. Of the VR, actually. Because the Z9 is the only one that has the Synchro VR capability. I didn't actually realize at the time when we were doing the Nikon report on the launch day.
And someone corrected us in the comments, yes.
Which is totally fair enough. We're always happy to be corrected.
We're happy to, absolutely. We have to go through a lot of information during the podcast, so some things that they do sleep.
Yeah, exactly. So it seems to be something to do with the number of axes that the Z9 will work with in conjunction with the lens. I actually don't have the official information on what the difference is and why the Z9 works specifically with Synchro VR lenses.
From my point of view, I don't find this lens, I mean, I know it's hand holdable and it's very light compared to, let's say, even 400mm, etc. But I think if I would have this lens, I would probably get a tripod with me anyway. Yeah,
although it does kind of get touted as the hand holdable
compared to bigger lens. Absolutely, I agree with you. And then from another point of view is what did I want to say? Oh yes, Z9 use. Yes, if you track in the subject in the motion, so flying birds, running animals, all this, then Z9 would be the choice. But then of course you can pair it up with the Z7 and Z6 cameras. Yeah. And generally they will do, unless it's extreme high speed situation, they will cope.
Yeah, exactly. Small Brown Fox said, can you test the 800 on the Z7 too? Yes, we will certainly try if and when we get our hands on one.
Did I tell you the story how Tilly caught a fox the other day?
She caught a fox?
Well, she kind of cornered it. And then she didn't know what to do with it. She just looked at it. Because, like when the dogs, they're running after something.
Yeah. And then when they get there.
When actually they get to the point where, okay, what I'm going to do now, she just froze and didn't know what to do. So the fox just left,
Wildlife Trust is the other one. Wildlife Trust and the RSPB, which is the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds.
That's the one.
So there you go. There's a couple of options there. Places like that, 800mm would be great for. When we get our hands on an 800mm, we will certainly test it on as many cameras as possible. I know I'll be testing it on the Z6. I would love to also test it on the Z50.
If you wouldn't say it, I would.
I know. So another interesting thing is obviously with the teleconverters, that 800mm becomes 1160.
Comparing it to 24 to 120G lens. Yes, absolutely. Lots of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think 800, it would be interesting actually if, well, we don't have 800 F-mount version, but if you would have one, then to compare it with that.
Yeah, I know a few people who might be willing to let us borrow theirs.
That would be nice. Do we still have 800 manual focus somewhere?
I think we sold it.
We sold it? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. But so the 800mm works with the Z teleconverter. So with your TC 1.4, it's going to be an 1160mm f11, and with a 2x converter, it's going to be a 1600mm f13. So if you find that interesting, you could then also throw it on a Z50 or throw it on a crop in your full frame camera, and you'd get even more. It's all about the zoom length. I mean, it's all about how long you can go. So I think that's something that we should definitely challenge.
My brain just melted from all that muff that you've thrown at us.
I'm sorry. Yeah. But I think it would be interesting to see how that is also useful when we get our hands on it.
I mean, it's an amazing lens. Yeah, if you're doing birds, that's for sure.
Yeah.
If maybe you're doing a bit more of a safari type of things, maybe sometimes it's going to be too long. So maybe I would prefer 600 over 800 in that respect, or maybe 500, something like this. But yeah, if you're doing small birds, that's perfect for that.
Yeah, and the beauty of it is with Z teleconverters and Z lenses and Z cameras, all of those in combination with one another, you don't lose autofocus capabilities when you reduce your your f-stop. So for example, with F-mount lenses like the 80 to 400 is an odd one that actually takes teleconverters, but by ending up at about an F11-ish lens, depending on what focal length you're shooting at, you lose your exterior focus points and you only end up with the focus area in the middle usually. But with the Z cameras, you don't have that issue. 1120 at F9, Phil says.
Yeah, because effectively F-sensor is on the sensor itself.
Yeah, exactly. Andy asked if this is the lens which has a built-in teleconverter. It's not. That's the. It's not this one. This one doesn't have a built-in teleconverter.
That would be another 4,000 pounds on top.
Exactly. Yeah, but it does work with the 1.4 and the 2x.
I reckon that will be reserved to the 2.8. Let's say the top offerings for long lenses.
Yes, we've got the 400.
Yeah, so I think 600 will have a teleconverter. I bet on it.
That would be interesting. Like the 600 f4.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be very nice. So just moving on a little bit, because we've chatted for half an hour about the same lens and have so much to cover today. I did also want to say thank you to someone who I missed a little bit earlier, David. Thank you very much for your contribution to the Coffee Fund, although he said money to fix Con's mic, which I think we can just do by...
I just love hi-fi. We can invest in hi-fi any day.
Why not? Yeah. And there was another thing that I wanted to... Oh, please give us a like.
Yes,
because we've got like 200 viewers and 78 likes. It's a poor show. So maybe we can fix that. And thank you to Len, who's bigging us up there in the chat.
And please stay for another hour when we're going to talk about film. The whole hour, just for you guys.
Try and squeeze it in.
I can see people already leaving.
Oh, there we go. And the lovely Paul actually came in. You missed him. He was here on Wednesday. He said, I was in London with work this week and squeezed in a visit to the famous Grays of Westminster. What an amazing place for Nikon shooters. Thank you, Paul.
It's a shame I missed you, Paul.
It was lovely to meet you in person. We always love it when you come into the shop and come and have a little look around. As Paul was saying, it's like the second-hand department feels like a bit of a hidden gem, because you don't know it's there when you walk in the shop. You have to go around a corner and down the stairs.
Through the pub.
Yes, through the pub. Now, I'm glad you nearly knocked that over.
There you go. It's a nice segue.
It is a nice segue, because I wanted to talk about yesterday. For those of you that do follow us on Instagram, you will have seen that we were at the Amateur Photographer Awards for 2022, which is a really lovely event for the photographic industry, and it hasn't happened for a couple of years for obvious reasons. And you kind of get the best of the best. All the main camera manufacturers are there. There's representation from Sony, from obviously Nikon, Canon. We had the CEO of Sigma was actually there. He came over from Japan.
Yeah, food is nice, I heard as well.
The food was good. Yeah, exactly. And some Nikon ambassadors and Z creators. It was overall a really lovely event, but the thing I wanted to mention was that thanks to your votes, we won. You're really tempted to break it. We won the Good Service Award. This is the Platinum Good Service Award, so a bit hard to see there, but this is the Platinum Good Service Award, which means we got the most number of votes of all the Good Service Award winners.
Because of you.
Because of you. So thank you so much for that. It is actually the 6th year running that we've won this award now, so not too shabby. So you have to find a space in the cabinet, but I'm very proud of us.
Yes.
As a team.
I support this message.
Is there some kind of YouTube awards for like quirkiest channel?
Well, not that. They give you a button if you get like 100,000, I think.
Right.
You know, like whatever button they give you.
When we hit 100K, put it right there.
See you in 10 years.
Yeah, we're going for 20K this year, and that already feels like quite hard work.
But CEO of Sigma, I heard, was really nice.
He's a lovely guy. And you know what's really funny is that when Sigma won a couple of awards for some lenses that they had tested by AP, they beat Nikon in one of the categories, actually, on one of the lenses. I can't remember which one it was now.
The GX and entry-level stuff?
And they beat Sony in another one. Well, they won an award, I think, for the 35-1.4. And
it's a good lens.
Yeah.
The art, yeah.
Yeah. And they won is it an 18 to 50 f2.8, something like that?
Well, they do 18 to...
That was an APS-C.
Well, they do 18 to 35-1.8, I think, or 18 to 55-1.8. That's the one...
No, there was a 2.8, which was like the best sort of standard budget mid-range zoom category. And he was so enthusiastic when Sigma won the award. He was really, really happy. And it's quite a conservative event, you know. Everyone's like sort of, yeah, it's jolly good. Very British. And then he's like... He was so happy. It was great. Anyway, so thank you for your votes for us winning. Also, the biggest thing I think for us was first Nikon won the 40mm f2 as the best budget prime.
Okay.
Then they won best professional camera with the Z9, and then product of the year with the Z9. So they won 3 awards.
That speaks volumes.
Yeah. It was really impressive. And the Fuji GFX 100 S1.
I heard about this camera.
Best,
several times.
So I keep pointing at you. Won the best special, I think it's called special purpose, was what they called it.
I would call GFX 100 as a special purpose.
Or something like that.
I mean, if you look at the medium format, this is basically, I mean, you can get the 50S2 or whatever they call it.
Yeah, that was in the category as well.
Yeah, which is 3.5. But if you look at the value for money at 5.5, GFX 100 is fantastic. Obviously, it's not a sports and wildlife camera.
Nope.
But if you do everything else and you need a resolution, and I know that resolution is not everything, but if you need it, then it's a really good offer, because the next one up would be something like Phase 1, and the price basically quadruples.
That's right. In fact, I think that was almost entirely the summary of the speech. You weren't there, but
I was there in spirit.
but that was the kind of summary of why they thought that was particularly good as well.
Yeah, but then again, if you're looking at sports and action camera, and if you're looking at basically autofocus performance, that 9 basically wins everything. There's Sony A1, of course, but if
Sony
you look at
A1 won best video, like DSLR with a video, multi-purpose, I think they called it, multi-purpose camera. So it won for the video aspect, the high resolution viewfinder, etc.
But you know that autofocus on GFX 100 is not as good as even on Z6. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I guess it's not really for that though.
But if you're in a rush, and obviously I wouldn't call it as a kind of walk-around camera. It's probably aimed at pros, and if you're shooting portraiture, then yes, it gives you the best sensor at the moment currently, as a kind of value for money.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, overall, it was a fantastic event, and I did want to just impart that, because I thought, you're part of our little family here in our community, so I just thought I'd share the experience with you. It was very, very nice. Yeah.
So Amateur Photographer has been out since then?
When did it come out? 1875.
Yeah,
I think it was.
And you've been subscribed since then?
I've been subscribed since those days. See,
digital version, probably.
Yeah.
So it's been around for a while.
It's been around for a while, and the whole team there work incredibly hard. Amateur Photographer is a weekly magazine.
It's still the only, I think, photographic magazine in UK at least.
It is.
That comes out weekly. It used to be British Journal of Photography, but they've stopped that about 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Thank you to Jean for your contribution to the coffee fund. That's very much appreciated. And thank you to Randall, who I saw it and I missed it. There we go. Thank you very much, Randall, for your contribution to the coffee fund. Overwhelmed here. Said, put your FX camera in crop mode will get you the 2,400 millimeter with 2 times converter.
Yeah, you don't need Z50, but
you can go for ZFC.
For me, if you look at this combination here, for me, that's what gave ZFC a second life.
Yeah.
Because I've played with it, I liked it, but I've got Z6 and I would never come back to this. And then we've got this lens on Wednesday. It's a Voigtlander 35 1.2 DX lens. And it's just, look at that setup. Okay, I'm just going to remove the metal lens hood. Remember metal lens hoods? It's amazing. So look at that.
Yeah. And let me see if
this
you can,
is nice.
Yeah, you can see it.
So nice. And you look at this color focusing ring, so like a pre-eye Nikon glass. The build quality is amazing. The aperture is so clicky. I've tested it last night on the train, photographing random people, putting camera in their faces. It's incredible. I'm really chuffed about this lens. Personally.
Yes. Yeah, so this is another sort of quite big piece of news that we announced very subtly in our Nikon report this week, which was just to say we are going to be curating a selection of Voigtlander Z-mount lenses.
So far, they only have one.
So far, they only have one, so we're starting with that one. And it is the 35 f1.2, which is an APS-C lens, so works for the ZFC and the Z50. I actually put it on the Z6 just because I was curious. And you know how with any Nikon DX lens, if you mount it on a full frame camera, it automatically applies the crop factor.
Yes.
You can't not apply the crop factor. In fact, that's it. With these lenses, it doesn't do that. So you have to then apply the crop factor.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But it means that you can then also use it without. It gives you a very strong vignette, obviously.
So just to interrupt you for a second. So they automatically apply it if it's switched on. But then if in the menu, you can turn off the DX. Like I know on DSLRs, you have it automatically on and you can turn it off as well.
So not with Z-mount DX lenses, you don't get the option to turn it off.
Not the F-mount.
You can't turn it off.
Now you clarified it. Okay.
It is on whether you like it or not, and you can't sort of cheat the lens by then setting it to full frame.
Yes.
But you can with third-party lenses. So the beauty of this one, for example, is the fact, shall we put the award
away from me?
Just because, hazard there. Could be used as a weapon. So with this one, for example, you've got a chip in the back of the lens. It actually passes your EXIF data through to the camera, which means that you get all your EXIF information. You've got your aperture control from the lens itself. It does click beautifully.
Yeah, that's one of the problems with buying third-party lenses.
Yeah.
Let's say, okay, if you got Sigma, it's one thing, or Tamron. But if you buy some other brand lenses, normally they're not cheap and they're manual focus. Therefore, your EXIF data is non-existent effectively. So it's nice to have EXIF data because it just feels like a native lens to the camera. Yeah,
exactly. In fact, you're getting more EXIF data than you would if you put a Nikon manual focus lens on. Indeed. Because with that, you have to program it in, whereas with this one, you don't. So just looking at the rendering, even on the Z6, it's really nice. We are going to have a proper play with this lens, and then hopefully, we don't actually have an exact time frame for the remaining 3 lenses, do we?
Last time I heard is we're looking at something like 3 months.
Right.
So, but no definitive date yet. Yeah. So, but there's going to be 35 and 50 APO lenses. That's top of the line lenses. Those are available for Leica cameras already. And a lot of people, if you look at the reviews, they're saying they're much in Leica glass for a lot less money. So those 2 lenses are going to be fantastic. I'm pretty sure. I assume design is going to be pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Just we changed the mount to Z. And then there's going to be 23, I think 1.4, and that would be equivalent of 35 for DX cameras.
Yeah, and so this is because it's an APS-C lens and it's 35mm. It's basically the closest to a nifty 50, but it's a 1.2. So you got that lovely shallow depth of field as well. And I love how there are actually stock clicks here. So you've got your 1.2, you've got 1.4, and then you've actually got a 1.6 click.
Yeah, so you've got half stops.
Yeah, exactly, and a 1.8. So it's actually, I don't know, bit of ASMR there.
Can you hear it?
I don't know if you can hear that, but it clicks really beautifully and very, very smooth. I was overall just very impressed with the build quality of it. I mean, it's a lens that's made in Japan.
But it's just, if you look at okay, let's forget about just specifications and, just look how beautifully it looks on this camera.
Yeah.
Because, okay, ZFC is a beautifully made camera. with 16-50, 16-50, in my opinion, doesn't add to the kind of image the camera,
The aesthetic.
aesthetic of the camera.
Yeah.
That's the right word for it, absolutely.
Yeah.
So by putting something like this, it's just, for me, it's elevated. It's literally, now I'm thinking like, wow, that's amazing. And then you cover your screen at the back.
And then you pretend it's film camera.
That's incredible. You've got obviously focus peaking on this camera.
Yeah.
So focusing is quite easy to do. And then if you want to fine tune it, you can press basically plus on the back, and that just zooms you in, well, digitally.
Yeah.
So you can confirm your focus. But overall, it's just nice, and it feels so smooth. The build quality is amazing. I mean, we have another lens that we can't really talk about at this stage.
Yeah.
So it's a cheaper lens, and it's also manual focus and made of metal. From other brand, we're not going to mention this. So it's it's a mysterious brand yet. So, but the difference in build quality, it's day and night.
Yeah, it is the build. Yeah, the build is one of the biggest things that I have noticed on that. Roy, you can absolutely add a dandelion chip to most manual lenses. In fact, I have my manual focus lenses chipped, which is great, but it's not something that everybody's necessarily going to want to do. But if you've got a set of manual focus lenses in your kit already,
and plenty of time as well,
and loads of time, lots of patience, and and you know how to program them, which is the next thing. Yes, you can absolutely add that. Thank you to Ivor, who said, hi from Canada. Big spaces here, and the wildlife never seems close enough. An 800mm would be wonderful. Thanks for great Nikon info you both provide. Well, thank you very much, Ivor.
Thank you very much.
And yes, I think when you have those big, wide open spaces, actually, the longer the lens, the better. That's why Rishi was up in Scotland.
Oh, yes.
And, the places where you're not going to get up close and personal with much of the wildlife.
Yeah, and to have it at such price is incredible. So you get the magnification, at 3 times the cost of the, equivalent from other brand, not the same, but, almost.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's incredible.
And the Great Loco said, adding Voigtlander Nikon lenses is necessary now that Nikon discontinued the AIS lenses. It's true.
Yep.
We've obviously seen all the production of the AIS lenses, AFD lenses, all of those have kind of gone now.
But you know how I was pleasantly surprised when we announced it on our podcast, which came out on Wednesday. There were so many positive comments about Voigtlander lenses. I was surprised. I didn't expect for them to be so many.
Yeah.
And people saying how they like their lenses. I've got a couple of people emailed me and shared their experience with 40mm f-mount and 58mm 1.4 f-mount lenses, how great they are, how good they feel, just the overall kind of handling, the focusing, etc., etc. I am pleasantly surprised. Let's say, compared to when we launched Sigma, we had some people say, well, Tamron lenses are better, or let's say, why not Nikon, etc., etc. So for this one, it's been, I would say, almost 100% positive. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been very, very pleasantly surprised by the feedback as well. And I think it'll only get better as we add those lenses to the lineup. There was someone else that said something that I wanted to read out.
Look
Sorry.
At this, we also have f-mount Voigtlander lenses available for special order.
Yes.
So that just means that it's going to take maybe 3 to 5 days to arrive. So as long as they're in stock.
That's right.
So, but yeah, if you're interested in buying f-mount lenses, they do 28, 40, 58, and 90mm lenses. Only 4, not many, but have a look at reviews online. They're very positive as well.
Yes, I wanted to say thank you to Keith.
Thank you, Keith,
for your contribution to the Coffee Fund. Said hi from Kansas City. Working today, but we'll catch up later. Enjoy some coffee or tea, friends. Well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Marco said still no third-party lenses for the Z6 II. Actually, there are a few full-frame ones, but as I said, these do work. They're APS-C lenses, but they do work.
Yeah.
But we are on an almost weekly basis during the Nikon Report, which is our podcast and news video that goes out on Wednesdays.
But if you're looking at third party, we have Viltrox.
Yeah.
We have Yongyo, just came out.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not, let's say, very famous and well-known brands. They're Chinese manufacturers, but look at Rich's review of Viltrox 8518. So you look at Matt's review of Viltrox as well. They are generally positive. Of course, Nikon lenses are better, but they're also more expensive. So, but the good thing is to have a choice, for different budgets, really. And Voigtlander is getting to the space. I think TT Artisan, again, maybe not the most amazing brand, but it is now, I think it's picking up the steam, definitely, in community. So they are releasing, they already have the manual focus lenses, but they're also releasing autofocus lenses very soon. I think it was rumored to be released last week and didn't happen. So it seems like it's going to happen any day now.
Yes. Andy asked if we could review how to subscribe to our magazine. Well, most certainly. If you are on the Grazer Westminster online shop, there is actually on our menu on the side, there's a little option which says Extended Warranty and Nikon Owner Magazine. But if you type into the search bar Nikon Owner or Magazine, it will come up. And then you've got a few options there. I've put the link in the chat box, but please feel free to ask away if you can't get on with that. But you can order now officially all over the place from our online shop. You can order in the US, in Canada, obviously all over Europe. We even cater to the UK.
And did you know that Becky writes articles for Nikon Owner magazine?
I do indeed.
Yeah.
So now it is an easy thing to do to shop online with us, which is really, really great, because up until last week, you could only order over the phone or by snail mail or by
I know
email.
you have to speak to actual people. I know who does this nowadays. You know,
Yeah.
but now it's all available online. It's all shipped everywhere you want. So absolutely no problem at all.
So if you are looking at something, I mean, if you're in the USA or Canada, then probably secondhand is the market you're looking at rather than new equipment because of taxes and import duties and stuff. But we have a great selection and we can ship out to you as well. So that's good. The other thing that I wanted to read, hello, Jose from the Philippines.
Oh, hello.
Ivor was very happy that I pronounced his name correctly. It is an unusual name in Canada. It's very, very true. So Keith said, got the 24-120 finally, still waiting on Z9 and 100 to 400.
We'll get there.
Ordered the 800 PF, so that's a good start. I will say that one of the things that the Nikon school guy said yesterday was, because there were a lot of questions of like, when can I get my Z9? And there was a lot of things of, Neil said, when did you order it? That is the question. Because if you didn't order it on day one, and I was like, oh no, don't say that. It's not strictly true.
I think, without, angering anyone, but I think everyone now learned that if you want something that's been announced, you have to order it on day one.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with this approach. I think we should have stock, and we should have stock, pretty much, you should be able to walk into the store and buy it, but that's not the world we live in, unfortunately. So,
and that's for everything. That's not just for cameras. Yeah.
That's the thing. And it's just the way it is, unfortunately. There's no way around it. I wish we could just flip the switch and suddenly we would get the flood of Z9s coming in.
Exactly. One thing I found very interesting, speaking to the Sigma CEO, was that they had a supply chain issue, not because everything of theirs is all made in-house. It's a very kind of inclusive company. They don't really outsource components, but they would outsource raw materials. And at one point they were struggling to get things like magnesium. So what they actually did is then opened up their own magnesium plant so that they wouldn't then have a struggle getting hold of magnesium, which I thought was very resourceful. Only cost like 30 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Throw money at it, it's fine,
But I just think, obviously if we could make Nikon cameras here, we would just be working away on
every
overtime.
Day, hammering, get the chisel and the hammer.
Painting the Nikon. Yeah, exactly. That would be my job, would be to paint the Nikon logo on. But yeah, it is definitely an interesting phenomena that we have with so many different combinations of issues in order to get hold of things. Now, moving on from Voigtlander, because we haven't talked about film yet, and we've got about 8 minutes left.
All right. So we thought long and hard about this, and we decided we're going to stock film. You know why?
Yeah.
Because we like to buy cheap film ourselves.
We do like film. Yeah.
Yes. So that's it. We have another 7 minutes.
That's it. That wasn't the only announcement. So obviously, again, another thing that is a slight struggle in terms of supply chain. I'm putting it here because they can't see it if you put it there.
I'm putting them in my pocket. All right. Okay, so you're going to talk about this. I want to ask in the chat. So we've got two films in here. Tri-X 400 codec and the Infrared HP5 Plus. Which one would you choose yourself?
Yeah, I would actually be interested to know. So these are the film stocks that we were able to get hold of on an immediate basis. This is what is live on our website now. So if you do want some black and white film, then you have a choice of either of those. We've got some of each, and once we run out, we'll order more. We've got lots of color film on back order at the moment, and we will start to list those so that you can also order them for back order.
We thought we're going to curate color film. And then we saw the market and how scarce it is. Some people waiting for Color Plus Kodak 200 since September. So that's us. People complain about Z9. But the thing about this, all color film nowadays is out of stock, unless you go for something like Lomography Metropolis, which is, let's say, a funky film, as I would call it. So basically, we ordered all color film that is available, and whatever comes through, we will list them, and we will let you know, let's say, via email, newsletter, so do sign up for this, or via Instagram post, etc., etc. So with the black and white film, it's a little bit easier. So that's the good news. So we will be able to get some stock. I think we might get something like 3200 film as well, and maybe 100. If you are interested in buying 120 film, medium format film, which we're not going to stock, but if you want us to order some for you, we can.
Yeah.
So we can do that. So get in touch with us. We will be able to get that for you. But since Nikon didn't make medium format cameras, we'll concentrate on 35mm primarily.
Yeah, it seems a bit odd to stock film for cameras that we don't stock, but at the same time, we're happy to accommodate where we can. Interesting how many people are going down the route of Ilford HP5 versus Tri-X. Now, David at Synthetic Color said Tri-X for daylight, HP5 for night because it makes your highlights glow. Yeah. That's interesting. I have not seen that comparison. So that's
David shoots a lot of film. I think he's using F5, isn't it?
F5 and I think an F301. Or 801, can't remember. So then we had a couple of, it's funny, we had quite a few people actually said HP5. Oh, we got Tri-X in there and a couple of Tri-X. So it's a mixed bag. I think it's probably just as well that we have both.
Yes.
Yeah.
So technically, Tri-X should be a little bit more contrasty. So black, some more black, white, some more whites. And then we've got Ilford, while still being contrasty, you got a little bit more mid-tones going through. It's a little bit grainier compared to Tri-X. But again, splitting hairs there, and they're both quite pushable. So you can push them to 1600 ISO if you want to. And again, a lot of people, generally, they would choose either one over another one. I shot all my youth. I shot with HP5 Plus. It's kind of saw me through and through, really. And I shot it with 3200 even,
Yeah.
So, but Tri-X, I also like it. I think it gives this kind of traditional look to the image. And you're right, for daylight, it's a little bit more contrasty. For night, I agree. Maybe HP5 is actually better for night photography.
Interesting. Even though they're both 400 ISO film. So that is very interesting. We don't stock slide film. Philip, this is the first film stock that we've gotten. This is the beginning of a new era for us. So it's going to be quite fun.
But we can expand, definitely. If you're interested in slide film, let us know. So we can definitely order some. I mean, Fujifilm is primarily nowadays is kind of slide film. So they only have, I think, C200 and Superior 400 as a color negative film. The rest is basically, slides. But we can also get E100 codec if you need to.
Yeah, and we will be stocking quite a large selection of color film. I know a couple of people are like, who needs color? Just shoot black and white. I primarily shoot color film. In fact, the last rolls that I had developed, for those of you that were asking on my Instagram, on the pictures that I posted, some are Ektar 100, some are Portra 160, and someone said, what settings were you using? Well, I was using an L35AF, so I
pressed the button. And the camera fired.
I did do some effort on composition, but I didn't actually have to set the settings, which was great.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people, when they say, actually, the reason I think a lot of people mention black and white, first of all, when we talked about that, film photography can be cheap.
Yeah.
So I don't know why, but there is a common common idea that film photography is expensive. It can be cheap as well. You can buy a 301 with a 3.5, let's say 35-70, 3.5, 4.5 lens.
Yeah.
Then you can buy a black and white film. Ilford film is made in England.
Yeah.
So it is pretty much the cheapest film you can get. They also make Kintamir. Yeah. Which is even cheaper than that. You can get, I think Kintamir for about £6 a roll. You can get HP5 for about £7-8 a roll for 36 frames. Color film is a lot more expensive, I agree. So you have to add another maybe 30-40%. So definitely, if you shoot black and white, Ilford is the way to go. And then a lot of people say that you can't really get the same black and white and digital. Again, this is very arguable, and I'm sure there's going to be a conversation in the comments.
The comments.
But especially if you shoot black and white and you print black and white in a darkroom, I agree. The printers, the computer printers, they can't get the same results as a traditional black and white printer, printed in the darkroom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Ed once said, convert to the dark side, Becky. Yeah, maybe I will one of these days. I haven't found a black and white film that I'm truly in love with, but maybe, but I like, from what I've seen of samples of Tri-X, I would like to use it. I've shot a fair amount of Ilford.
Yeah.
Actually, I think, is it XP2 that's the one that's C41
That's
process?
the C41, yeah, that's the one.
That's probably the only one that I've actually shot with.
Yeah, my whole youth I was black and white person, and then when I went to study photography to the college, I switched more to studio photography, and that's where I started to shoot color most of it. And nowadays I shoot mostly color as well.
Yeah. But Andy and actually I think a couple of other people and also the Ilford website said that HP5 Plus is great for pushing and pulling. So
I shot a 3200 with it.
Well, there you go.
You can do that.
Yeah. So if you do like to do that, then HP5 is probably the way to go. Hello to Manny at Time Lapse and Chill from Washington State.
Hello.
A few sort of late joiners here. I was laughing at the fact that Avner said the best compatibility with the Z6. You know, these, yes, absolutely. If you want film for your Z6.
Yes. I saw on Reddit the question is, can I put this Tri-X into 50mm film camera?
Like, okay, what? Okay.
It's a 35mm film camera with a 50mm lens on it, you know.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you know, as I say, oh, it's a dumb question. It's not a dumb question. None of the questions are dumb.
It's like, you don't know, you don't know.
Exactly. It's good that people are getting into photography. Young people, old people, doesn't matter. Someone coming back to film, there's a community around it. So it's good to learn about those things. And again, I think, like, as I said, for me, shooting film is more therapeutic because we talk about digital so much.
Yeah.
You know, so and I enjoy shooting it when we film in, and obviously any commercial work, I throw digital, I would use digital camera for it. But as I kind of take my mind of it and just enjoy the time being present, you know, I would shoot on film.
Yeah,
you know, for me.
I am very much of the same kind of view on that. And if you really want to take your time, then you shoot medium format film.
You know, as like with vinyl, you want to open the box of film and read what you're shooting, you know. And
they don't quite make it the same. It doesn't have all the artwork
the
inside.
instructions how to develop it with different developers and the times.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So there we go. That is our full hour. My goodness me. Before we go, please do give us a thumbs up if you haven't already. There's a good sort of 90 odd of you that haven't done that yet. So we'd really appreciate if you just hit that little thumbs up button. Thank you to everyone who's contributed to the coffee fund today. Very much appreciated.
Thanks so much.
I am going for a lemon and honey as opposed to coffee.
I've got some kombucha in the fridge.
Ooh. My throat is now worn out completely. Nobody talked to me for the rest of the day. Thank you for spending your Friday afternoon with us. We will not be back next Friday because it is Good Friday in the UK. So we're not going to be here.
I mean, all Fridays are Good Fridays for us because we're with you guys.
Yes, true. But so it's Easter, which means that the shop won't be open. We won't be here over that. We have a bank holiday weekend.
Yeah, it's an egg hunt, everything. You know.
Yeah, we do Easter egg hunts. Very important. So we will have the Nikon report out next week. If we can get videos edited in time, then we will also have some other videos out over the next week. But anyway, have a wonderful weekend all. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon.
Have a great weekend.